I don't think there was.
Recording in progress.
It gets so quiet then. Oh, good. I think you were supposed to be here. No, you. I asked Melissa. She said no. So I mean, the council rules aren't in here. 2 minutes. It's right here. It says the 27th. Okay. April 27th. Okay. You might want to send another. Speaking points for me. He needs to go through the proper channels anyway. That's what I'm telling you. Hi.
I saw Taylor and I grabbed it.
Oh, I forgot my stuff.
That's it.
Oh,
I grabbed it in my box.
okay.
I just saw Taylor reach in the box.
I was like, my box was empty.
Well, that would be mine.
Thank you. All right, good evening. I would like to call the Auburn study session meeting for Monday, April 27th to order. Tonight's study session meeting will be held both in person and virtually. In person. How about that? Rebecca, would you please call roll?
Deputy Mayor Tracy Taylor,
Here.
Councilmember Amer,
Here.
Councilmember Baldwin,
Here.
Councilmember Lott,
Here.
Councilmember Rakes,
Here.
Councilmember Sturgis, Councilmember Sturgis.
She should be online.
Oh, according to Jason, she is logging in now. For the record, Councilmember Clinton Taylor.
Here.
Thank you, and I'll make a note for the record once Councilmember Sturgis logs on.
Thank you, Rebecca. Do we have any agenda modifications this evening?
Yes, Deputy Mayor, we have an executive session which was added to the agenda this evening.
Thank you. We have no announcements, reports, or presentations for tonight's agenda, so I'm going to turn the meeting over to Councilmember Taylor.
Excuse me,
Sure.
sorry to interrupt. It looks like it was confirmed that Councilmember Sturgis is present. Councilmember Sturgis, can you confirm that you can hear us?
Yes, I'm present.
Okay, thank you very much.
Very good. All right. And with that being said, we will continue over to the Community Wellness Special Focus Area. And to chair this portion of the meeting is Councilmember Taylor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. At this time, we have a presentation from our community about the Auburn Senior Activity Center, as well as about the Public Arts for Centennial Viewpoint Park, and that will be with Director Kruger.
Thank you, Councilmember Taylor, Deputy Mayor, Councilmembers, Mayor. It's my pleasure tonight to introduce Radine Lozier, Senior Center Manager, Min Fang, Resource Navigation Program Coordinator, and Lindsay Pritchard, the Program Assistant, who are going to share with you tonight about the Auburn Senior Resource Navigation Program. That's a portion of the King County Veterans and Human Service Levy funded program. And so have them come up and share with you information about that program.
Hello, Council and Mayor.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Min Fang, and I'm the Resource Navigation Program Coordinator for the Auburn Senior Resources, and we are funded by the King County Veterans and Senior Human Services Levy. So this is a levy that was established in 2005, and it still receives ongoing voter support. It first began by investing in two priority populations, the veterans, service members, and their family members, as well as resilient communities. And in 2017, it expanded to include services for seniors and their family members. The most recent renewal was in August of 2023 with 71% voters' approval. That has been the highest in its levy history, so we know this levy is well supported. And the levy funding currently supports affordable housing, employment services, behavioral health treatment, and other essential services for veterans, senior, and family across King County. In 2024, the first year of the renewed levy for 2024 to 2029, the levy delivered services to over 63,400 people throughout King County, of which a total of 7,692 veterans and their family members were served. 43,800 seniors and their caregivers were served, and a total of 41 senior centers funded. And in total, the VSHSL had 208 contracted community partners. We have been very lucky to have received funding from the King County Veterans and Senior Human Services Levy. In 2018, we received over $110,000 in capital improvements. In the first iteration of the levy from 2019 to 2023, we received a little over $1 million in funding. And then this current iteration, starting in 2024, through the end of this year, we would have received $844,000. So in total, from the start of our program funding through the end of 2026, we would have received a little bit over $2 million in funding. And what this funding does is it funds our resource navigation program team for salary, benefits, as well as day-to-day costs. So currently our team, we have 3 team members. I myself, Lindsay, is our program assistant, and we also have an office assistant. So I primarily do the client appointments and meeting and providing one-on-one support for our seniors. Lindsay does a lot of our grant reporting and data management, and then Taylor, our office assistant, does our scheduling and a lot of our intakes. So together, we're providing a direct client support and system navigation. We're supporting our clients that are facing housing, health, financial, and social barriers. And we're connecting our clients to company as well, county-funded, as well as community-based resources. So really, we're trying to connect our clients so that they can age in place in a healthy way. And as they navigate through a higher level of care, we try to walk them through that process as well. So our referrals currently come from a lot of different areas. We have people that are walking in at the senior center through word of mouth, family members, friends, neighbors. We also get a lot of referrals through medical providers as well as social workers, home health providers, community-based organizations all across King County, city departments, the anti-homelessness team, police, outreach, utility, etc. We are also receiving referrals from the fire department, the Auburn Food Bank, local senior housing staff, as well as veterans organizations. And we do a lot of different things within our program here. Basically, if somebody comes in with a question, we try to provide an answer to their question. But basically, primarily, our services include basic needs assistance, healthcare and medical support, connecting to mental health services, aging and protection services, housing and home services, legal benefits and application assistance, employment and vocational services, transportation, technology and accessibility, as well as general community support. So some of the common resources that we help connect our clients to is food resources and hygiene supplies, emergency financial assistance for utilities or for rent, medical care navigation, connecting with their insurance provider, or helping them connect with their primary care provider, in-home support and getting connected to caregiver services. We also provide support for adult protection and elder safety, eviction prevention and navigating housing, employment and job search, connecting to transportation and ride programs, digital access support for online applications as well as digital literacy. And we also do a lot of cross-agency service coordination with our local partners. So just to share some of the impact of our program, since 2018, we've served a total of 837 cases, clients, with a total of 2,178 contacts. So these are meaningful times that we've spent with our clients to help provide one-on-one resource navigation. We do have a little bit of flexible financial assistance that we're able to provide through King County, and of which we've provided an assistance of $1,375 for food as well as gas assistance. And in 2024, we started providing our annual meal bags, and of which we've served a total of 341 people so far. And just to highlight some of the fun things that we've done in 2025, we've served a total of 164 clients, of which 116 new clients and 48 returning clients. We also expanded access to individual mental health counseling through a licensed contracted provider. We hosted a bi-weekly mindfulness-based anxiety support group between April and June. We also helped launch the Better Age pilot program to help strengthen staff capacity in serving older adults within the senior center. We provided support to sustain the Friday congregate lunch services, and as a result, reducing meal disruption for our seniors at the senior center. We also provided dedicated online assistance for enrollment in the Senior Farmers Market Nutritional Program, and we distributed 64 meal boxes in 2025, helping support 82 individuals with essential nutrition. And this is how we can be contacted. And please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
I was going to just add a little bit more context too. So while the King County sets aside the levy funds, how they navigate that program is we have to then apply for grant funding. So it's not just they disperse the money. We have to go with the program to then capture that funding in our budget. So I'm going to recognize Radine here for a moment, because in the past, before this funding was available, the senior center alone was trying to do this more resource navigation, kind of one-on-one client help that takes a long time if you have a high-need client. And so it was identified that a program such as this resource navigation program could be really beneficial to Auburn. And it was kind of determined as a need. So when this levy funding became available for the senior population, that was a program that we applied for to get that levy funding. Because that one-on-one client need really needs a position like Min's to really help them navigate all of those systems. And so those are the numbers that she's working with those individual clients to really help while the center is running around it. And there's lots of resources available at the center, but it's connecting those individuals who might not know where to either access the program at the center or even from other local agencies that offer those services that they can tap into that they just don't know how to get to. And sometimes there's barriers for them to get to. So having this program without levy funding is so important. And it's really Radine's work over the course of years, like navigating and seeing the need for those pieces, that we have a levy program like this in Auburn.
When the levy was first, they sent out an RFP, you had to decide and submit to them what you wanted to do. And this had been something that we have seen for years and years and years, and it was a way to get the funding for it. If any of you have ever tried to help someone navigate the system, especially after COVID, it is very, very difficult. And if you don't have computer skills and you don't know how to use the computer and a scanner and fax and all of these things, it becomes impossible to get services. And for the years that I spent trying to help people, I just knew there's stuff out there for people. We just have to make it available to them. And so that's why we went with proposing this type of a program. And then it has developed and grown and turned into just a really, really top-notch performer in King County. The team that works on here is known throughout the county as who to call, who to talk to about connecting people. We thought that it was the biggest form of flattery. We developed this program and what it would look like, and King County now has started a program very, very similar following that model. So we're proud of that. We think it does a lot of good, and being housed in the senior center, it lets us work off of both things. You know, they meet somebody that's maybe never been in the center, but then that person gets connected in the center, and then they become part of the community, and it just works really well building together.
Mayor, I just like, look at, any questions, Mayor? Yeah.
Adding to that, I mean, this is, the people that you see in front of you have such compassion and care for the seniors and for everybody in the community, but there is also a really strong relationship between our human services team and this team. So, I mean, they work together so incredibly well for the benefit of the entire community, but especially for the senior population. I know that our human services team have just been so grateful for the work that you are able to accomplish when they have seniors who they come across either in their cars, out in encampments, places that our seniors should never be. And so thank you for the care and compassion that you show.
Councilmember Baldwin.
Yeah. Where to start? First, I think I would be remiss if I didn't take a moment on the dais and just say thank you to Radine, who has been serving our community for over 40 years. And without your leadership in this area, there were so many lives that would not have been impacted, and the difference that you make and the legacy that you leave. So
Thank you very much.
just thank you for all of that, and of course, no pressure for everybody else. There's some big shoes to fill. But I think if anything, building this team gives me great confidence that they'll be able to continue that work. So that is sort of my first statement. And then I do have a question in addition to it, because I can't not have questions. You had mentioned the Better Age program is something that's helping your team do your work better. I was wondering if you could share a little bit more about that.
Sure, I'll take that. So the Better Age pilot program was something that was launched. We partnered with Better Age as well as, I think it was 10 other senior centers throughout Western Washington. And it essentially is like a health and wellness survey program. So we were allowed to generate certain questions that was actually provided and kind of guided by the Better Age program themselves, that we were able to administer to our seniors and start collecting, for lack of better words, data about the health and wellness conditions and like where their quality of life was now. So then we could start to address one, if there are currently programs at the senior center that could help them increase their quality of life in specific areas, as well as we could take that data and see if there was like a trend in greater needs in our current senior population that we were not, that we didn't have current programs to help and address. So it was kind of a twofold. We could connect people to current programs if they already existed and they were unaware. And then it helped us kind of evaluate what our current programming was and if there were any gaps in that. Did that answer your question?
Yes, and I would ask what your takeaways from that study would have been.
So I would say, for one, it's a pilot. So it is, they ask questions, they pull data for different centers, and centers are very different. There's some that are municipalities, there's some that are nonprofit. So I think we found that it was harder to get people to want to participate in another survey, whereas communities that are small, was it Bainbridge that got so many? Bainbridge, very small, they were all for doing surveys and gathering information, things like that. So we were able to get about, was it 100? How many did we get
I think we
surveys?
were close to 100.
About 100 surveys, but that's not a huge amount for the population that we serve, but about 100. And then we could look at that and say, it looks like this percentage eats alone. Okay, we need to push our lunch program a bit out to those people. Or they talk about not being physically fit, a certain percentage. I don't have the numbers with me, but would say they aren't physically fit. Okay, we need to get more information out so that they realize a lot of Advantage plans will pay for their fitness membership at the community center. There's specific classes geared towards older adults there. We need to get that information. So it really just gave you a look, a snapshot at those 100 people to see where communication needed to go out.
Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Councilmember Sturgis and then Councilmember Riggs.
Thank you so much, Chair Taylor. Just a question from you. So it's, when the funding, it sounds like we've got another 3 years left on the levy. And maybe you shared this, but I missed it, so I apologize. But when that funding changes down the road, are we at risk, or do we feel confident that another levy would replace it, or what do we do to make sure that we have continued funding to serve this need going forward once the levy comes to an end?
So the levy started, and I'm not going to be able to remember the exact year, but it was a veterans levy for quite a long time. And then they added the senior piece into it, and the amount of money went up a lot. And they also did a lot of research and found out that there are senior centers that are already doing this work. It doesn't need to be recreated, it needs to be supported. So that's kind of where those funds came in. It overwhelmingly passed the second time when it just was. But as with any levy, it's up to the voters whether they choose to support it, pass it, or not. So there is always that risk, but I will say that our program is doing very well, and we get very good feedback from King County and a lot of good feedback about what our program is doing. There have been other programs that maybe had to be modified, because not everyone does a resource navigation program. It may be that some people, they did it to pay their utility bill, or some do it for a certain population, things like that. There's different things. But ours is getting such great feedback that I do know that they look to us and say to us, this is what we want to see happening. But with any levy, you have to still do the RFP, you still have to apply, you still have to do the work to get it every year.
Thank you.
Councilmember Riggs.
Well, actually, Councilmember Sturgis asked the question I was going to ask, but I did want to take the time to say how lucky that we've had to have Radine for as long as we've had.
Thank you.
And what a wonderful partner she's been, not only with my day job, but with the council. So I really appreciate all your work.
Thank you.
Well, on that note, I'd like to echo that as well, because I know the importance of the work that you're doing. And so thank you for all that you do and all that you're doing. And this really warms my heart, because oftentimes our seniors are the population that is the invisible population, I like to say. And a lot of times, we don't see them getting the service that they deserve. And so thank you for all the work that you're doing, and definitely, I see another hand too, but I just wanted to say kudos, because anytime anybody says you're the standard and we're trying to mimic what you're doing, that speaks volumes for the work that you're doing and the care that you put into the work that you're doing. Councilmember Sturgis.
Thank you so much, Chair Taylor. Yeah, I wanted to avoid that whole topic because I didn't want to start crying. But I've got to see it in action so many times, Radine, with your leadership, and it's just so incredibly special. And it is such a unique offering that we have. I mean, to be able to walk into the senior center and have so many senior centers the second they find out your city council so many seniors run up to you to tell you that this is the best senior center and that they moved here just so that they could be a part of this and researched it out is so huge. And then to have this resource, we know that that's just a cherished gem that we get to have to help our community. So thank you so much for all of your service. One question I have is, and I think a couple of presentations back, I remember you guys sharing about like Meals on Wheels is a way that we can sometimes identify seniors that might be isolated. It looks like we've got really incredible word of mouth referrals and awesome partnerships with other community organizations and professional organizations, and then word of mouth, et cetera, on how seniors find out about this resource. But is there anything that we could be doing or are doing specifically to kind of seek out and identify those isolated seniors that may really need the resource but don't have access to learning about it?
So that is always a difficult task. Seniors that are isolated, sometimes they choose to be isolated. And we found out during COVID, when we had to figure out how to get to isolated people without getting to them, we started delivering food to people. And the numbers were just astonishing. 150 meals a day were going out. Well, as soon as that stopped and we opened back up, you can get this food every day. Just come down. I'm not leaving my apartment. So we do go out, do outreach, go to some of these places, but I have had to realize that there are some people that this is where they're comfortable and this is what they want to do. As long as we're able to be there for them and help them if they decide they want it. But there are some people that want to just be by themselves. It is funny because the people that come to the center that absolutely do not want to be isolated, if someone comes in and they are a little bit of a introvert, they can get a little overwhelmed. It's loud in there. Mm-hmm. It's loud and there's a lot of laughter, a lot of stuff going on. But I think it's funny. Adult children often tell their parents, you need to go check out a senior center. Never fails, they come at 4:00 in the afternoon. So there aren't as many people there because they leave about 3:30-ish. There's not a ton there unless you play pool. Then they're there till 5. But so they come in and I always feel like the daughter is pulling the dad by his ear. And most seniors that walk in there, they want to hate it. They want to tell their kids that they don't know what they're talking about and it's just for old people and it's not them. And then we'll get a connection and hook. And next thing you know, they're just singing our praises. I think of John, who comes in, a fellow that is from New York City, and his partner died, and his son, who he didn't have much of a relationship with, didn't know very well, brought him in and brought him down to the center. And this guy is there every day, and he just pays such compliments and says it's what keeps him going every day. So we just got to hook him with the right bait, but it is always an ongoing struggle. And then if you get in the language barrier, because we have a lot of people that don't speak English in Auburn. We have a partnership with CMAR, And once a week, their equivalent to our team that they have, their social worker, brings a group of non-English speaking, usually anywhere from about 15 to 20 people. And it was interesting watching that develop because we thought everyone wants to be together, so we bring them all together. Well, this group did not want to learn English, and this group did not want to learn Spanish, so they just would kind of look at each other funny. And it was very hard to break through that. And then they asked, the CMART group said, we would rather do our activities in a different room. So they moved, and I thought, well, we failed. Well, now they all come together for lunch, and they all intermix amongst each other now, and they sit together. It was just that they wanted their own space for some things, but then they want to be all included. So it was a good lesson for me to learn. We have tried to do some Ukraine outreach to some of the senior housing. We had things done in Ukraine, and then in talking with the social workers from King County Housing, they said this group really likes this community, and they're speaking the same language, and they kind of like to stay right here. And so sometimes that's perfectly fine.
Councilmember Amir.
Right. First of all, I second senior citizen center not only for senior. I've been there 18 years ago when you have the class. You brought the author. I'm trying to find her name. Learn how to write your life story.
Yes, a creative writing class.
Yes, I signed for 2 classes. That's how I ended up being here, because if I was attending class, I made friend, then I start volunteer. So I have to give it credit. Senior Center has big space in my heart.
Thank you.
Councilmember Locke.
Yeah, I'll just say I was impressed when I took the tour of the facility. And although it was a quiet day, and I did see the pool players back there, and I just was shocked at how nice and clean and beautiful everything was, and was really surprised there weren't more people in it that day. And I guess I just caught it at an in-between time.
We were there at 4:30 versus the earlier in the day.
And so I had a question about the 164 clients served in the 48 that were returning. For the ones that don't return, is there any follow-up with them to make sure they're okay?
That's a good question. Typically for the individuals that we close that don't return, they are services that are completed.
Okay.
And these are individuals that are welcome to reach out to us at any point with any questions. We don't really fully close people. It's just a matter of if we are still actively working with them. So typically, once we close a case, it means that they have no more questions and that their case is resolved and they have their needs met. And in that case, we don't feel the need to follow up with them. Tracking the returning clients is something that we really started doing in 2025 because we realized so many people were coming back for questions and other services.
Deputy Mayor Taylor and then Councilmember Ball.
Thank you, Chair. My parents were in town just last week, and we were talking about the senior center and the services they provide where they live in Eastern Washington, and it is not comparable to what we present here. Thanks to you, you opened my eyes up a little bit more to have them ask more questions and to get those solidified answers to the things that they need in Eastern Washington as well. So I do want to say thank you for opening my eyes a little bit more to what my aging parents right now need. So I that's resources that I don't have until I've met the staff. So I appreciate that, and congratulations to you on your retirement. Thank you. Thank you.
Councilmember Ball.
I think this is probably more just to put it on the record for anybody who's watching from home. But I think sometimes when people are struggling or trying to figure out where to go or what to do, they assume that everyone who could help them has a charge behind it or a cost behind it. Mm-hmm. And so if we have people in our community who need the support for or of our senior resource navigators, could you tell me, do they need to pay anything for that?
No.
Would you
There
like
is
to
no
say
payment.
that 2 more times loud?
No payments.
So the help that they can get and receive that we've seen shared tonight is available for all of our community members and their caregivers with no charge. I think that's just a really important call out. So often there's always a transaction, and here we're just here to help people. So.
And a good example of that is we have all income levels that come in, and if you have a need, sometimes it doesn't matter. You don't know where to go or how to do it. And there may be someone that comes in that no longer can live in their home, and they have money, they have resources, but they don't even know how to begin to look at what's out there. MIN can hook them up to organizations or places that can help them that best fit that need for them. Or you'll have someone that can no longer stay at home anymore. They don't have any funds, which means they are going to need to go maybe to an adult family home or skilled nursing, something like that. MIN can really walk them down that path to say, what do you need? And let's find what is a good fit for you. And let's get the Medicaid paperwork filled out. Let's get all of these things. It's overwhelming, but we'll just go step by step by step. Because it is overwhelming if you have funds or don't have funds. And just having someone to advocate for you, I don't know how to stress how frustrating it is and how much it just seems like it's just getting worse, that people don't answer their phone. People, companies, it's push this. If you can't hear and you're on a cell phone and you're push 1, push 2, it's so hard. And so advocating, I've been known to be very, very loud and just say, we have got to do better. We've got to do better. And it's so great that we have this team that they go out, and if somebody wants to just, oh yeah, well, we just don't have that, or we can't take care of that. No, you can. And I'd be happy to wait. And that is what I love about the Resource Navigation Program.
Many of our clients are always surprised and so filled with gratitude that this is a free service, that there is no fee associated with it, to the point that some have expressed that they feel bad for even getting the help from us, and they've given us nothing in return. And oftentimes we just reassure them, this is a property tax levy. You've already contributed into this in some way as being a King County resident, and fortunately we are funded through this levy, and we are just here for you. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So next we have our Parks, Arts and Recreation Department, the Public Art for Centennial Viewpoint Park presentation.
Let me do a quick switch out here. This one, and open this one. We brought show and tell tonight. I'm gonna walk over to this one and give this swap to Allison. So Councilmember Taylor, Deputy Mayor, Council members, Mayor, my pleasure tonight to introduce Allison Hyde, our arts supervisor, and then Sharon Ignor and Ben Dye, artists, to talk to you about their proposal for the Centennial Viewpoint Park art replacement, as we had a theft up there that they will share with you again, and just go over some of the history of how we got to some new artists for that park site.
Good evening. Thank you for having us, City Council, Deputy Mayor, Mayor. So I will go over a bit of the background of kind of where we got to where we are now. So I've been underway in the selection process for new public art for the Centennial Viewpoint Park. So a bit of history about the public art at this site, for those that might not be familiar. There was a former public artwork titled The Long Look by artist Brad Rood, much beloved by many, installed in 1992 to celebrate Auburn's centennial, which was stolen, unfortunately, and recast in 2012. Bronze is a material that, for some holds inherent value, therefore making it perhaps a bit more of a target for theft. But because the artist still had the mold to be able to recast it, the city chose to take the insurance funds for that and have it recast in 2012. But unfortunately, the same piece, that replacement, was stolen a second time in 2023.
And the cast was gone.
Yes,
No more
and the
cast
cast
anymore.
was gone. The piece could not be recreated, which kind of begs the question, is bronze really the most suitable material for this particular site if it's becoming a target not once but twice? So although missing, and it's not like we could recover it if we wanted to, it was decommissioned officially by Auburn City Council in 2025, leaving the city wondering what to do next with this site. So we received an insurance payment of $55,000, and originally the intent was to work with original artist Brad Rood once again and say, could you please create something beautiful in the same vein as that original piece that was loved, but not in bronze? And although we got under contract with him and he started kind of thinking through ideas, it really came to light quite quickly that he is a bronze artist and just did not feel comfortable recreating something that far out of his comfort zone. So at that point, it kind of gave us pause and a moment to realize that art was still an important place at this site. So in 2025, we took the funding from that $55,000 insurance payment, added some to it from our CIP funding, and identified this as a desired location for public art, posting the opportunity for $80,000 allocated for the commission. As I'm sure you're all aware, the cost of making anything has risen quite drastically over the years. So when Julie and I discussed the $55,000 price point compared to what we're seeing in the market for something of the scale that we were hoping for, it seemed appropriate to up the budget for this project to get something really impactful. So Centennial Viewpoint Park was developed by Auburn's Rotary Club during the centennial year in 1991. And this is a really incredible site, beautiful views, a really great spot for reflection. It's adjacent to the cemetery and a place where I think many go to kind of look out over Auburn and the mountain. So Auburn's Art in Public Places policy dictates the public art selection process that we follow for the city. So we formed a selection committee, which formed and helped guide the artist selection process for this opportunity. It included Park Board member John Boatman, artists Ken Turner and Robert LaSalle Chisholm, Arts Commissioners Dr. Carol Crawford Danner and Christine De Leon, and City and Project Representatives Cemetery Manager Emer Chevalier, and Project Planning and Development Manager Nathaniel Gout, and of course, the fabulous Julie Kruger. So we posted the opportunity through October to November, posted the call to artists, specifically seeking an artist based in Washington State with an $80,000 budget. And 48 incredibly talented artists applied for this opportunity, of which 4 finalists were interviewed with the selection committee in December of 2025. So Ben and Sharon have been along kind of partway through this process here, but essentially we began in, March 19, 2026. Ben and Sharon came on in January and were presenting design concepts to the selection committee. So on March 19th, 2026, the selection committee approved this conceptual design you will see tonight and forwarded that recommendation to the Arts Commission. The next step in this public art process is a presentation to the Arts Commission. So April 7th, the artists presented to the Auburn Arts Commission, who also approved the conceptual design and forwarded their recommendation to City Council for final review and approval. Tonight, we're here to review the final conceptual design for this exciting public art opportunity in hopes that May 2nd would be the resolution for consideration to approve the artwork that you will see now. So we'll let you just kind of, you want me to click through?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so I'd like to introduce artists Sharon Agnor and Ben Dye. We're our artist team selected for this opportunity, and I'll just let you take it from here a little bit.
Well, first of all, this is pretty exciting for Ben and I. We've been part of the rotating sculpture exhibit here for many years, in and out, and it's obvious to us the value that you place on public art and how it beautifies your community. And that speaks to us because that's what we like to do. We want to create art that's meaningful and thoughtful and connects with the people that it's around and the place. So the concept that we've come up with involves stainless steel, which is our favorite, and cast glass. And stainless steel, I'll let Ben talk a little bit more about that, but the glass that we're going to be using, should you approve this design, is a very thick glass. I cast it in a kiln. It's a half an inch thick, so it's very durable. And it's just, you just can't hurt it, really. I mean, I've taken a hammer to these, and it's hard to break. And I'm not talking about a hammer, I'm talking about a mallet. So it's hard to break. And the design has all of the glass up quite high. And so I feel really confident that this is going to be, not be bothered. But let me just say, we can't be like always afraid of people that are going to like steal the deer, because then we have no beauty in our community. So we've just got to take a chance. So, would you like to talk about the steel?
Well, let's back up just a little bit.
Okay.
You're so inspired. So, when we were asked to present a concept for this, we kind of did our research and we saw this space and this view, and then looking over the piece, the long look that was there, we just couldn't get over how perfect. You know, we're like, oh, this is going to be a huge challenge. This piece was so perfect. You know, we saw people interacting, you know, taking pictures with the deer in the view, and we're like, okay, how can we match this? And we decided that instead of starting over, we would do a continuation of this story. And so you'll see there's a log bench, and the tree theme is sort of a sprout growing out of that log. You know, we can keep it between ourselves, but the log remained, right? Yeah, so anyhow, without really saying that out loud, the kind of continuing that story is where our thought process kind of began. And then how to frame the view without distracting, you know. It's so amazing, and so we really wanted to play on that park's theme and the scene with it. And so the council and everybody helped us. We located the position where we think the sculpture should be. And do we want to look at the next?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So as you see these renderings, keep in mind these are, you know, it's so clear. Our job is to spell out what our idea is. It's really difficult because it's so clear, but we'll do our best to get that across to you. And this is a 3D rendering program, so it's not a blueprint. So as you see these, this is size, scale, color, you know, number of leaves, size, and everything. And so it's kind of where we'll work to. And so the idea was, the way the path is lined up, if we square the trees to frame that, it doesn't quite catch your mountaintop. But if you askew just a little bit, you can catch the mountain. And so we thought it would be ideal for, almost a destination kind of a situation where people, we even joked, maybe even wedding photos, who knows what kind of excitement this will produce. But so then, the challenge is obviously, you're in touch with what could happen to art. And so that was our next concept is we're like, okay, how are we gonna make this bulletproof? How are we gonna make it out of reach? And even though, it's a very generous budget, we decided to stretch past and go, as big as we could go. And so we wanted them up high to discourage, you're gonna get climbers. We're not gonna get around that. And so we did some research on the diameter, which is discouraging, not the greased flagpole, but that kind of concept of what is not fun to climb. And so we want to stick with that kind of diameter, and then the reach for those leaves. But
it's like 12 feet up there.
Yeah. And so we feel that we've done a pretty decent job, and the construction of the stainless steel is almost like an airplane wing. There's an armature underneath, and so with the way these plates are bent and attached to each other, it really makes this incredibly strong skin. And so there's not gonna be any damage, no weather damage, or any amount of wind or anything we're concerned with at all. And then the stainless will be this color 20 years from now. It may weather a little brown, but that's just what
cool.
you get. Yeah.
Else, it's easy to wipe
Yeah.
graffiti off if you just.
Spider web. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
So now we're back to the glass.
Yeah. So, any questions?
So you have,
Let's see.
so this slide gives an example of the scale that the leaves will be in, and
This is the largest size.
That's beautiful. Yeah, that is.
We're really hoping to get on those really sunny days, get some interaction where the light casts onto the ground and the sidewalk and really get some fun
Color.
play with the shadows and stuff.
Yeah.
so, for example, this 3D rendering, it looks very computerized. It's nothing like this incredible craftsmanship that's on display here for the samples. So they will be natural and organic, every inch of them completely handmade by these two artists. And some of these images here just showcase that level of attention to detail and craftsmanship.
Yeah, okay, so, and this is sort of the anchor point of our whole presentation. We actually showed up with this bench for the presentation, and so she got to test drive it.
I sat on it.
And so this will be, Sharon's gonna create a little bit of glass in,
A vine.
yeah, so we get a little bit of green, just a hint that it's sprouted, it's got some growth left, and to continue that story, so.
And it will be positioned so that you can look at Mount Rainier.
Yeah, so even though the two trees aren't squared up, we wanted this bench to be perfectly aligned with the mountain, so as you sit there and enjoy this, you can get that great view.
Yeah, so if I were to go back here, these two kind of red semicircle areas are identified as the bases to which the trees would be mounted and installed, and then the blue angled section there is where the log would be installed directly facing Mount Rainier.
And I don't think the first picture had it, but the deer was standing on top of a log, and so that log is now a nod to the remnant that what they didn't take the bronze log, they just took the deer. So that new art will have a nod back to that log is the context for those two.
Thank you. Council, any questions? Councilmember Baldwin.
Mainly, I expect that there will be many an engagement photo taking place at this site. I think the construction makes sense given the history with the bronze. I like the continuation of the story. The leaves look delicate but sturdy, important for this site. And I'm excited to see how the weathering will reflect within the tree structure itself. So thank you for your thought and effort in putting this proposal together.
Any more questions? I can't wait to see it. That looks awesome. Yeah, that looks beautiful. So can't wait to see the finished product. With that, I don't think there's any more questions. Thank you.
Just so you know, the resolution will come back to council next Monday at the council meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
This time, we will turn it back over to our Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember President Taylor. All right, so our agenda items for council discussion tonight, we're going to start our first item on the agenda with ordinance number 7022, provided by Director Thomas.
Good evening, Deputy Mayor, Mayor, and Council. This should be pretty quick. This is an amendment to our B&O tax code. I feel like I've been here a lot talking about this, but this really are just more clerical changes that need to be made. So you will recall back in December, I came to you for some amendments that we need to make to the code. So our code was in alignment with the model ordinance that the state requires our code to be in alignment with. And then we also came back in February to make some additional changes that we also needed to make, just kind of follow up our own housekeeping changes that we wanted to make to the code. We were notified a couple of weeks ago from our code publishing agency that some of our references back to sections in the code no longer existed because we had edited out those sections. So really, this ordinance is just to eliminate the old references to like section 1 subsection A when it's now just section 1 now, and rather than subsection 1A, it really is just housekeeping. The attorney and both our city clerk said that these extend beyond just a scrivener error, so we needed to make amendments to the code. But there is no substantive changes being made at all. It is really just eliminating numbers and references to numbers that no longer exist in the code.
Good. Thank you, Director Thomas. Council, any questions? I see none. Thank you. Let's move on to our next item, the fourth quarter 2025 financial report.
Move over to the captain seat. All right. This is our fourth quarter 2025 financial report. I think that a lot of this will look familiar to you because we talked about it actually as part of our budget amendment number 4 that we just talked about a couple of weeks ago. So some of this will be a refresh of the items that we already talked about, but with more detail. So our summary page, in total, we collected 6% more revenue compared to what we budgeted for and 1% more in revenue than we did in the prior year. And we underspent our budgeted expenditures by 10%, but we have spent 24% more than we spent through the year of 2024. I'm going to go and I'm going to talk about our significant revenue sources in greater detail, but the one area that we won't look at is the transfers in, and that is a significant variance between 2024 year-to-date and our current year year-to-date, and that is because we transferred in the remaining of the ARPA money that we had been accounting for in a separate ARPA fund. We transferred that into the general fund, and so that accounts for that large transfer in 2024. We did not have a large reason to transfer money into the general fund in 2025, so that's why it looks like there's a large decrease. One of the other things that you'll notice, though, and you see this in both of our expenditure and how we've spent our expenditures, a lot of our expenditures in 2025 were a result of carry forwards from 2024 from ARPA money that we carried forward into 2025. So although there is a large we spent much more in 2025 than we did 2024. That was because we really started spending down our ARPA funding in 2025, and we'll also see that in our ARPA update a little bit later. So our review of our tax revenues, we budgeted $81 million of our entire general fund is accounted for and supported by taxes, which makes up 74% of our general fund budget. Property tax is our largest taxing source. That makes up 31%. We budgeted $25.3 million. We collected just a little bit more than that by the end of the year. And the reason for that is I usually budget about 98.5% of our total property tax levy. We didn't collect 100% of what we levied, but we did collect more than what I had budgeted for. I always account for tax delinquencies and unpaid taxes when I budget for our property tax revenue. Retail sales tax and use tax makes up 20%, 28% of our taxes in the general fund, with $22.6 million budgeted in 2025. We ended the year collecting $130,000 more than what we had received last year to date, and $455,000 more than our year to date budget, or what we had budgeted for the year. And we're going to see this on the next slide also. I have been talking about the sales tax has actually been in decline, and generally speaking it has. The reason why we see that we outperformed the prior year actually is related to one large taxpayer that has been in the city for some time. Their sales tax has actually been going to another city. We discovered this error. They are now reporting in Auburn. And so what we're seeing is now them on the tax rolls at the end of 2020. They came onto the tax rolls at the end of 2025. So a breakdown of our major retail sales tax categories. The most notable ones, as far as increases and decreases, we have our construction, and this is the same story I've been saying for the entire year, but we had some large school construction projects in 2022, 2023, and 2024. Those projects all wrapped up in 2024, and what we're seeing is a decrease, really mostly as a result of those increased revenues that we had received in prior years related to school construction. Manufacturing saw an increase over both our year 2024 actual. It's related to the transportation equipment manufacturing industry. Transportation, this is the one that always stands out to me, that it's not a huge dollar amount, but it's still up 7% and $22,000. It's an overall pretty small category, but it is really just one industry that came up that started during COVID, and that is our courier services. So all of our home transport, all of the things that we order online and have delivered to our homes. And even though it's not a huge impact in Auburn, it's a really interesting new category that came out from the pandemic. And then the automotive, $317,000 more year to date over 2024, and that's where that one new taxpayer has popped up. So that $317,000 is almost entirely attributed to that one taxpayer, which also then accounts for why we collected $180,000 more than last year in our sales tax overall. It is really entirely attributed to that one taxpayer. So it was nice to have an offset there, with the rest of our revenues declining. Utility tax revenue, we have $16.3 million budgeted in 2025. We collected $1.3 million over budget and $1.8 million over the prior year. If you recall back when we did our mid-biennial budget amendment in October, November, we did take into account our trend on these utilities, and we increased both our 2025 budget as well as our 2026 budget to account for our higher than expected collections, and that has to do with base revenue being higher, therefore the tax that the general fund collects is higher, particularly for our solid waste rates and our external water, sewer, and solid waste utility providers. Then we have our business and occupation tax, which makes up 14%. We budgeted $11.7 million and we collected $13.4 million, which is $1.7 million over our budget. And that is $1 million of that 1.7 is attributed to some delinquent taxes that we collected. So that's all of the taxes that we collected in 2025 that were related to prior years. So if we were looking at our actual 2025 collections, we're much closer to budget than what our actual compares. So what we budgeted for 2025 and what we collected for 2025 was actually much closer. I also included the breakdown between of the total B&O tax we collected, how much of that is related to gross receipts versus the square footage tax, which is for warehousing activities. And $7.8 million was gross receipts and $5.6 million was in the square foot tax. Other taxes make up 5.1% or $5.1 million or 6%. That includes our criminal justice sales tax. It's a portion of the state sales tax that they sent to us. Admissions tax, gambling tax, leasehold excise tax, and franchise fees. We are $377,000 over budget and $135,000 over our prior year to date, and both of those really related to gambling tax. The most significant change in those other taxes was just strong gambling tax collections. Licenses and permits make up, so we've moved out of taxes and all of the other. These are more of the services that we collect for the fees that we collect for the services that we provide. For licenses and permits, it makes up 3% of our total general fund with $2.9 million budgeted in 2025, and half of that revenue is building permit revenue. We did underperform compared to budget by $129,000, and we overperformed the prior year to date by $213,000. Our business licenses and our building permit revenues have been outperforming both on budget and year to date. Our valuation of permits in total is 60% higher than they were in 2024. A lot of those is new construction and tenant improvements, usually related to warehouse space and manufacturing space. And we had an 18% increase in the actual total number of permits that building permits that we issued. So between business licenses and building permits, we've done well. It's all of those other permit fees related to building permits, electrical permits, plumbing permits, curb permits. Those revenues have been lower than what we budgeted. Intergovernmental revenues, that includes all of our grants, our MIT compact, and our state shared revenue. Our state shared revenue includes streamlined sales tax, motor vehicle excise tax, our marijuana and liquor excise tax, and our criminal justice sales tax, which is a different type of tax that I mentioned earlier that comes from the state. We're both under budget and under year to date. On the budget piece, it's just the timing of our grant collections. So for any grant revenue that we budgeted, it just means we haven't spent the money to be able to collect the revenue yet because it's a reimbursement basis. So we just haven't collected all of the grant revenue that we have actually budgeted for. Our motor vehicle excise tax revenues are also less than budget. Comparing our year-to-date performance, that has to do with the timing of how we've collected our compact money from the tribe. We had under-collected at the end of the year. We didn't collect our full amount, or we had over-collected in 2024, skewing our comparison for how much what we collected this year. It's just a timing difference between the 2 years. And then we, again, collected less motor vehicle excise tax, and we also collected less streamlined sales tax mitigation money, which has been budgeted, but it's still less than what it was in prior years. In fact, July will be our last streamlined sales tax mitigation payment that we collect from the state. That has been phased out for a long time, but for the last 4 years, it's been slowly phasing out. Charges for services. Our general government, these are our services for like our passport fee collections, the cost for our indirect cost allocations for internal service departments out to other departments. really what's driving our over budget there is our passport services continue to remain strong. It's been about $3,500 above budget all year, and it's maintained strong. So go city clerk down there on the first floor. They're working hard to earn their $3,500 above budget. Public safety is also above budget by $402,000. This is mostly attributed to our extra duty services. So when our officers work off duty for other agencies and other organizations, the offset to that revenue, of course, is the overtime that we pay our officers to do that work. Development services is $87,000 above budget. I talked about the building permit activity and how we've our building permit, both the number of permits that we've issued and the value of those permits that we've issued have been greater in 2025. The other side to that is the plan check fees, the facility charges, and the zoning and subdivision fees that are tied to that building permit activity is also above budget as well. Our culture and recreation ended the year $589,000 above budget, or 19%. Despite the water's best effort in December, our green fees at our pro shops still outperformed budget and prior year to date, finishing the year $375,000 over budget. So of the $589,000, $375,000 is related to our golf course activity, and then our other recreation programs make up for the additional amount. Other fines and penalties finished the year $867,000 over the prior year to date, budget. It should say 2025 year-to-date budget, not 2024. So that is $867,000 over our current year budget, and that is attributed to the B&O fines and penalties, which make up about $660,000 in that $867,000 total. Our interest and investment earnings, we ended $1.8 million over 2025's budget and $324,000 over our 2024 year end. And I've talked about our portfolio and how we've been taking advantage of the yield curve and the treasury rates and really stacking our yield and our average yield to get it higher, and we did exceed even our 2024 interest earnings. I don't expect that's going to happen now that the yield curve has finally corrected itself. Every 3 months, we usually have at least one maturity, and we purchase our treasuries and our agencies generally in $5 million chunks. So every 3 months, we're reinvesting that $5 million, and we are seeing the interest rate slowly decrease. Although we're still, I think our last one that we issued in March was still, I think, 3.89%. So still a decent return. Not 4.2, but still a strong interest rate. And because this is year end, I will mention just our total cash and investment portfolio, which is in the front of the full report that is included in your council packet. We have $105 million invested in those agencies and treasuries that's generating the $1.8 million in revenue. And we have $153 million invested in the local government investment pool, and we have $24 million in cash. Expenditures. So this is how we ended the year. We ended the year underspending by $13.1 million. There were a couple areas that we were over, and municipal court was one. That is our King County District Court. Our King County District Court costs ended up ending the year a little bit higher than we had expected. And then streets, that mostly has to do with our utility costs being higher than we had budgeted. Again, I talked about our utility tax that we're receiving from PSC typically is higher than we budgeted. That's because rates are higher, and we are seeing that how we ended the year with the streets. Same thing that also impacts our facilities fund as well as our parks and rec fund when it comes to our water utilities as well. And then our internal service our internal services, which includes HR, finance, legal, and our non-departmental fund, ended the year $4.5 million under spending, and that there's a couple of significant things that that contributed to the $4.5 million underspend. $4 million of that is coming from our non-departmental department, which is where we had budgeted for our debt service. We were planning to issue money for the facility master plan. We did not end up issuing that debt yet, but we had budgeted for it, and we budgeted $1.2 million. So that was budgeted to come out of that non-departmental fund, which is part of the savings. And then we also had transfers that we had budgeted to send to other, again, that ARPA money, where we had budgeted to send some of the money from the general fund to some of our capital projects funds for ARPA funded projects. Not all of those projects are done. We did subsequently, a lot of the savings we made up for in our carry forward budget amendment that council just adopted a couple of weeks ago. So big underspend, particularly on the debt service, and then also on the ARPA, but most of that got caught up with our carry forward budget amendment. Right. Here's that ARPA update that I had mentioned earlier. We had originally received $14.7 million in ARPA funds. We spent $1.2 million in the fourth quarter of 2025, and our lifetime year-to-date spend is $10.1 million, and we have $4.6 million left to spend on those projects. Many of which you saw in the carry forward budget amendment, or all of which you saw in the carry forward budget amendment. Our non-general fund highlights, talking about our real estate excise tax. I like to always talk about this because this is one of our number one funding sources for large one-time capital needs related to general governmental needs. We collected $3.6 million, which was $1.9 million less than we collected last year in REIT, but it was $1.8 million over budget. If we take into account all of the projects that we have programmed out through the end of 2026, we have about $11.3 million in REIT money, REIT funding available as we go into the 2027-2028 budget development. And I shared, I think, with all of you at our retreat that we had back in April, and those numbers are still the same, but just to remind you that we have about $11 million available. I don't typically talk about our water, sewer, storm, and solid waste utilities in the quarterly reports, but because they are significant funds, I like to go over with our fourth quarter report just to give council awareness of how those funds are doing. For water, sewer, storm, we ended the year with operating incomes of 8.4, 5.1, and $1.3 million respectively. And then the fund balances of 23.3, 35, and $25 million respectively. All of those ending fund balances are higher than budgeted, and all three are attributed to just the spend down of capital. Again, we've carried forward the spend down on those capital projects, or we will be doing a carry forward on all of those capital projects in the next budget amendment, because we still plan to do those capital projects, just there's more projects than time sometimes. And then for the solid waste utility, our overall funding balance was $2.8 million, which was $822,000 greater than we had budgeted, which is good. We had been budgeting conservatively, and in the years of 2022 to 2024, we had actually budgeted for an income loss each of those years, so we could slowly smooth out our rate increases over a 2-year or 3-year period of time. So ending the year higher than budgeted means that we accomplished our goal of smoothing out the rate increases over time, but then still getting ourselves back into a positive cash flow and fund balance position with the solid waste utility fund. That is the end.
Council, any questions for Director Thomas? At this time, seeing none. No questions, Director Thomas.
All right.
Look at you. Good job. Thank you very much.
This one's going to go down in the record books.
We certainly appreciate that in your presentation tonight. All right, Council, this is the section on the agenda where Council can share topics of interest and/or reports on special focus area matters. Reports should be limited to 5 minutes. We will start with Councilmember Ammer.
I have nothing to report, thank you.
Councilmember Sturgis. Are you there? And she frozen? Nope. We'll come back to Councilmember Sturgis. Councilmember Lott.
I'm good.
Nothing to report.
Okay. Councilmember Baldwin.
Was just going to give a shout out to our Parks and Rec department for helping out with the fishing derby this past weekend. They were a little short staffed, but they got tents up, they got tables set up, and made a great difference for all the kids who came out to fish. Also had a chance to swing by the Auburn Food Bank's Empty Bowls fundraiser, which I got to try 2 different soups. Both were very delicious, so I would encourage folks to check that out next year. I also picked up 3 bowls, which are gonna make great gifts for people. And also attended the NLC Human Development Committee meeting last Tuesday, where we were working on putting together kind of our agenda for the coming year, and AI was one of the big topics there.
Councilmember Sturgis, did you have anything? And that's a no. Okay, Councilmember Rakes.
No report tonight.
Councilmember Taylor.
We will be having our special focus group next Monday. It was early this week.
Very good. All right. First, I want to shout out the M&O tour this weekend and the staff that came in on a beautiful Saturday. Got to see Coal Creek Springs, which was incredible. Wow, what a facility. Also, just a lot. So thank you, Director Galb and your staff for accommodating that tour. It was 3 hours of eye-opening experience, so I appreciate that. I also serve on the Regional Transit Committee. On the April 21st Regional Transit Committee meeting, we focused primarily on, it was a joint briefing for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. We heard from our partners, King County Metro, Sound Transit, WashDOT, and how they're coordinating to prepare for the significant increase in travel during the event. A lot of discussions included safety, reliability, accessible transportation for both residents and visitors, coordinating across agencies to manage transit capacity and system reliability, and then, of course, preparing infrastructure and operations to handle the large-scale and high-volume events. Also, Council brought up in our last study session an update on the King County sewer rate increase. The council is proposing a 12.75% increase in sewer rates for next year. Again, that raises the average monthly charge from $62 to $70. So that means an $8 increase per month for the wastewater portion of the bill. Again, being largely driven by a significant capital investment, about $14 billion over the next decade. So that's to upgrade infrastructure, meet environmental regulations, and respond to more intense and storm events that are putting added strain on the system. At the same time, again, I know we've all talked about it in some sort of capacity about the concerns around affordability. And county leaders have acknowledged the impact on residents, and they are looking at potential mitigation strategies, including financial assistance programs and oversight measures. Mayor, did you want to add anything on that? Nope. Fabulous. Okay, with that, we are going into a executive session per our CW 42.30.110 to discuss with legal counsel representing the agency litigation or potential litigation to which the agency is or likely to become a party when the public knowledge regarding the discussion is likely to result in an adverse legal or financial consequence to the agency. The length of time for this executive session is 20 minutes. We will resume the meeting. We're going to give us a few minutes. What time is it? 6:51. So about 7:20 to give us a little time to get back there. Fabulous. Okay. 20? So 20, wait, it's 20, okay. Sorry. So then 7:28? No, wait.
7:15.
Okay. Okay, sorry, 7:15. So 7:20 is fine, right?
That's just giving 8 minutes that you can't talk.
Oh, well, okay, well then we don't want to do that. All right. What time? 7:15. Sounds great. All right, we'll do that.
There's 3 minutes to go.
Okay. In addition to City Council, Mayor Backus, City Attorney Jason Whalen, Assistant Director of Public Works Jacob Sweeting, Public Works Director Ingrid Gaub will be required to attend. There'll be no action following the executive session. Let's go.
In time.
And by the way, I did talk to Melissa about that, she had the right date on it.
Oh my God, I feel so good up here.
All right, I call this meeting back to order. And with there being no more items on tonight's agenda, no further discussion, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.